So welcome. We're going to be talking about digital well-being, and Linda Liukas, who is the author and creator of Hello Ruby, is with us. And I've had the pleasure of seeing her presentation in past years here at the summit. Very happy to have you. And then, yes. And then Tiffany Smyly is the program director for the Economist Foundation. So we're really happy to have both of you here. So let's see, Linda, you have a presentation first?
Yes. Could we cue in the video? I never do this high-tech stuff normally, so this is an exciting moment for me as well.
Hi, my name is Linda Liukas. I'm a children's book author, illustrator, and programmer. This series is a love letter to the computer, and it's intended for you, the creative and curious teacher. In this series, we'll go inside a computer, become routers, learn about electronic circuits, and collect training data for machine learning systems. We'll ask questions like, what actually is a computer? How quickly can computers solve problems? And how computing education can be delivered equitably and inclusively to everyone. We'll cover code, algorithms, hardware, problems, and people. We'll explore what computer science is, what it looks like in the real world, and how it can be shown in your classroom across different disciplines. After this series, I want you to be able to look at a piece of technology with confidence and see the possibility of something different, new, and exciting.
Yay! So this is the thing I've been working on since the last HundrED summit. The idea, the genesis, and the funding pretty much came from the past 2 years of being here within this community. So thank you, HundrED. And my goal, whenever I speak with educators about digital well-being or digitalization, people start to use words like, oh, you mean coding? Oh, you mean spreadsheets? Oh, you mean like how to use Keynote? No. I want to talk about sensing, touching, feeling, experiencing, and kind of create a new kind of curriculum around computer science and make it understandable. So this was an effort, a 10-part YouTube series that is out there live right now to help teachers kind of glimpse a vision of the more playful and lovable and exciting side of computer science, which, in my opinion, it's very much not about computers. It's about humans and their big ideas. And it's been very interesting to be working on this with teachers around the world, everywhere from the Emirates to China to US to Europe, and getting a sense of what digital well-being might look like in classrooms. So I have a lot of very practical anecdotes and experiences from doing this in the classrooms about how to teach what the internet is for a generation of children who have never pressed the disconnect button, to how to ground vocabulary and experiences in the real world, because in some ways language, it creates our experience, and I do think that a part of understanding the world around is having vocabulary and language around technology and computer science that go beyond just being able to say that social media is bad or good. So I think that's what I've been up to, figuring out like how can we have not like a Roman emperor experience around digital well-being, saying that it's good or it's bad, but more to have more nuanced vocabulary and ideas around what it might look like in the future.
That is hugely impactful and very prescient right now in the world, and with teenagers coming up with their screens and technology that they've been raised on, basically. So I'm excited to hear more and to talk about that. And then next we have Tiffany.
Right, and I have a few slides, I think. There's a clicker. Wonderful. Thank you. Great. So I am Tiffany. I'm from the Economist Educational Foundation. We're based in London, and we are a charity that was born from within the Economist newspaper in 2012, and we operate largely in the UK, but in the last 18 months or so, we've also started to work with schools outside of the UK on a more global perspective. And what does digital well-being and digital literacy look like to us? We're all about using and leveraging the journalistic expertise at the Economist newspaper and combining that with teaching expertise to bring really thoughtful, great discussions about the news into the classroom and then onto online platforms as well. And why do we exist? We have lots of different areas we work in around news literacy, but from a digital wellbeing perspective, there are some statistics from the UK which are quite shocking. We're living in a world of mass information. The way that we grew up learning about the news and hearing what was going on is very different to how young people are now receiving information about the news. There's so much. It's very hard to cut through the noise. There's also a lot of misinformation, so it's very hard to tell what to trust. And young people aren't just getting their news from established news organizations anymore. We are all, as members of the public, creators of the news. If we are retweeting anything today, we are creating news. If we are sharing an Instagram picture, we are news creators. So young people are both creators and consumers of the news all the time. And some recent reports have shown that young people are lacking, I would say adults as well, but these reports show young people are lacking in some of the skills needed to do things like spot fake news across the internet. Teachers believe that fake news is harming children's well-being, and children are telling us that they're increasingly anxious about issues in the news because they're exposed to them. 9 out of 10 children saying they're worried about what they perceive to be adult issues, and parents are also worried. So what do we do? At the Economist Foundation, we create teaching resources. We do teacher training and student workshops about bringing those conversations about the news into the classroom. Teachers are the experts, so we're trying to empower teachers in order to feel confident in talking about big issues. Our core program is called the Burnet News Club, and we create news content and activities to talk about one issue in the news over 6 weeks, so that young people build a really solid knowledge of what's happening. They are exposed to lots of different perspectives on an issue, and then they create and present their opinion about that issue. So our last issue was about Hong Kong and the democratic crisis, and then we've talked about democracy crisis across the world. We've tackled big issues. We look at things like border and immigration controls. We've looked at the rise of violent crime in London, especially knife crime. We've looked at Brexit, unfortunately, every year for the last several. And we work with young people as young as 8. And we often get adults asking or saying, these issues are too big for us to be dealing with and talking to young people about. And our response is, well, in the digital world that we live in, they are exposed to these issues. And it's important for us to give them a space to talk about it. So we get them to build a space in the classroom to have these conversations. And we have a news literacy framework to support teachers across our 4 core skills, which are healthy skepticism, reasoning, speaking up, and open-mindedness. We find in adults, open-mindedness is the trickiest skill to garner. So young people are actually naturally very open-minded, so that's great. And then outside of the classroom, our students log on to our online platform, and they talk with peers about the issues as well. And that's why, for us, a global focus and scaling globally is great, because we've already seen the benefits of having a young inner-city London young person talking about the housing crisis with a rural Welsh student who is saying, what housing crisis? We've got loads of empty houses in here, so people should come and live with us. And what we trialed in the spring of this year, and we'll be doing again in 2020, is inviting any school from outside of the UK to join a 6-week free program where we will look at one issue over 6 weeks. It's going to probably be around environmental issues, if anyone's interested, and your students will get a login and be able to talk across the world with students about this as well. And we also get experts to come on and talk back to the young people. So that's what we're working on at the moment. And just a couple of takeaways I would say is digital wellbeing doesn't just have to be taught digitally. For us, it starts with conversations in the classroom and modeling what really great person-to-person conversations can look like before then exposing young people to some safe platforms online to share their ideas.
That is fabulous. Yes. So what comes to mind for me is, as an educator, somebody who's in the classroom, I have a question about, do you, either one of you, experience a reluctance from educators to even want to touch some of these issues that are huge or maybe too daunting if it's computer science? And what are you doing to sort of address the reluctance of educators to even broach those subjects or to bring them into the classroom?
I love that you use the word confidence, because that's something like I won't make teachers into computer science experts in a matter of a few weeks, but I hope that I'm able to make them feel confident that they have the knowledge to be able to teach these things for the students. And one of the things I try to come up with is a lot of metaphors. So saying it's like, what if we think that it's not a computer, that it's a telescope, it's a guitar, it's a treasure finder, and anything the child can imagine. So helping the teachers see how these new topics like computer science might fit into what they're already doing in their everyday lives, and helping reframe that instead of trying to jam down new information down their throats.
Nice.
We tend to find teachers are really excited to talk about the world around them with their students, but there's a couple of blocks in the way. One is that they don't want to impart their own opinions to young people, so giving them strategies and activity ideas which really empower them to look at all different perspectives on an issue and support young people to make their own minds up is really important. Secondly, sometimes teachers are nervous about the types of conversations that they'll be facilitating amongst the young people. So when you're dealing with topics that people might have very different opinions about, and you don't want anyone to be offended in the classroom, that's also really important to teach techniques about creating an open space where you can share opinions, but you're also very mindful of the other voices in the room and also the voices who aren't in the room. So thinking about different representations. So we do a lot of resources around bringing voices into the classrooms that might not exist. And then thirdly, having been a teacher myself, it's that constant battle between what the curriculum allows you to do, what your school space allows you to do, and the capacity to bring these kinds of conversations in. So for us, it's about mapping it against curriculum and showing teachers where they can align it to teaching that they're already doing.
Fabulous. I can't wait. I'm definitely going to dive in. Tell me a little bit about in terms of implementation, or in terms of, let's say I'm a new student, a new teacher, and I would like to start in on your particular program. What's the best way in? What's the best beginning steps?
So the website has actually 38 activities for students to go along with the videos, and they are completely free of charge. But the thing I'm maybe like most proud about is the teacher journal, because I do feel that there's a lot of content out there, but very little like resources to help the teacher reflect what they are learning. And when I'm learning a new skill, it feels like the bombardment of the information can be so overwhelming that, having worked with a lot of professional development organizations and teachers around the world, we made this little booklet for a teacher to be able to kind of craft and follow their journey into learning new things. And it has lesson reflection plans. It has space for you to kind of develop your learning, because no one will be ready as a teacher after watching 10 videos or doing a bunch of activities. So you'll find all of that on the Love Letters website, and that's a good way to get started and learn more.
And for us, we're really working on trying to create a variety of programs and opportunities for teachers in very different contexts and at very different stages. So we have an intensive high impact program, which is a weekly news club where teachers track skills development in their students weekly over a whole year. That's where we see our students making, I think, 150% more progress than our control group across our skills over 1 year. But we also recognize that that is quite an ask for teachers. So we're also suggesting we have a lot of free resources through our website, which includes things like a whole 6-session package about the financial crisis 10 years on, and advice to banks, all the way down to a quick 20-minute activity. And so what we're trying to get teachers to do is start light and have a go at trying to implement some of our resources into the class when they can. And then as they see the impact on the young people, maybe building towards a higher intensity, deeper impact program.
I love the idea that you're taking really complex and oftentimes abstract ideas and bringing them person to person. In both cases, it's a really lovely and important piece to really bringing up digital wellness, bringing up students who are encased and involved, enveloped in well-being. What do you see as the biggest issue right now, like the most pressing issue for students in terms of well-being? You've laid out many things here. It might be not understanding computer science or having a reluctance to really understand that particular aspect of life, or it might be the anxiety around news. What do you think is like the most critical piece right now that we need to address in youth?
I think a lot of what I've heard already, and I was really inspired by Peyton's speech about sort of young people cultivating community. I think the confidence is probably an overarching thing that we really care about in supporting young people, to have the confidence to speak up, the confidence to trust themselves in the way that they consume the news or consume all of this information, and the confidence to have strategies to deal with anxieties or deal with the pressures that young people are certainly facing and the challenges that we've created for them.
And not in an isolated way, right?
Yeah.
In a way where you
connect
can,
and
yes. I think that happens a lot, especially with dealing with the news and all the things that are happening, that teenagers don't actually express to anyone else how they're feeling about it.
For me, it would be the focus on the everything that is happening exactly now. So the discussions around screen time, the discussions around growing up online. I do feel like we need to look into the history in order to be able to imagine plausible futures, and the focus on the trends and the gimmicks of the day are kind of hindering our ability to understand that there is a long history of understanding, especially in the pedagogical community, but also in the computer science community, in understanding and having this research around what it means to grow up with computers, and tapping into that rich kind of tapestry of knowledge, the history, as opposed to just trying to deal with crises of the day.
Wonderful. I really appreciate your time and sharing what you have. Before we go, I know that Tiffany has something, an actionable item that she wanted to share with everybody.
Yes, just really excited if anyone has any schools or educators who would like to take part in our Global Conversations project, which will run from April to June, so come and find me at lunchtime. It's an entirely free program and will help you get set up and support the teachers in implementing it. So if you want to connect your students to other students around the world to talk about a leading issue of the day.
Thank you. Thank you.